is Reidsville Chamber of Commerce News and Views, a business resource show with a focus on enhancing the business environment through advocacy, mentoring, and education in an effort to promote economic growth. The Reidsville Chamber of Commerce is a membership organization in North Carolina, working on behalf of its members for the betterment of the community. With Chamber of Commerce News and Views you can use, here's Chamber President Diane Sawyer.
Hi, welcome to the Reidsville Chamber News and Views Show. My name is Diane Sawyer, and I'm the president here at the Reidsville Chamber of Commerce. And we are really excited today to have Jeff Garstka with the City of Reidsville and also Jill Weston. So, Jeff, tell us, who is this new face at the City of Reidsville?
Well, thanks again for, of course, having us on the show. Always excited to be here. Well, let me start. Of course, you introduced Jill by name. She's our new Main Street manager. She started on September 9th, so she is brand new, but I can assure you has definitely hit the ground running, full speed, which, as you know, we had a lot going on, so there wasn't a whole lot of option. Some folks around town have said, "Oh, you're the new Missy Matthews," which I don't think she's taken the wrong way. That's somewhat of a testament to the great job Missy did, but I'll just tell the world that she's not the new Missy. She is the Jill. Her credentials definitely stand out on their own, and she's got some great experience she's been involved in Main Street before in Burlington. She's been in municipal government out in California for many years, in event planning and recreation. She's also owned a small business for many, many years, and so that's one of the reasons I really liked her credentials was, having owned a small business, and of course, even in good times, one of our roles, especially in that position, is to, and the goal of the Main Street program is to help our businesses and get them to survive and thrive and grow and help new businesses get started. But, Diane, as we've worked together over the last number of months with the COVID pandemic, they need help more than ever. And so I think to have someone in this role who has been through the battles of owning a small business, who's been through the challenges, but beyond that, has been a very successful small business owner, to me, that's something I can't teach. That's just an inherent value that, I don't own a small business. So I can only coach these entrepreneurs so far and point them to other resources, but she has that credibility with them and an immediate rapport that I think is going to be a huge asset to the folks we have down in our downtown.
Well, that was quite an introduction. So, Jill, tell us a little bit about yourself and why you chose Reidsville and what you're most excited about.
Well, thank you for that lovely introduction, Jeff. And I am excited to be here. And I think Reidsville has a little place in my heart. I've got a family connection here. I still have family here. I love downtowns. I grew up in Southern California. Nothing is old and quaint there. And when I moved to North Carolina 17 years ago, it's one of the things I really enjoyed and still do is visiting downtowns and supporting local business. And this falls right into that for me. Specifically, Reidsville, I like the size of the city. What's going on here in downtown is unbelievable. I've gotten a great education about what's happening with the business owners, where they're from. Some are locals, some have moved here from other areas, and it's just very exciting what's happening here. And I think, like you said, Jeff, being a small business owner, I've actually had 2 small businesses, and I can definitely relate to the COVID issue and was hit pretty hard in the small business I had. And so I hope that some of those things I've been through and the knowledge that I have and maybe even some of the strategies, thinking outside of the box, can help these downtown merchants succeed.
We're really excited to have you. I know that for Jeff, it is a relief to have somebody in the position, but not only that, I know that he is very excited and has spoken very highly of you from the very beginning of the process and letting us know that we were going to have a new partner soon. So very, very excited. We welcome you, and we are looking forward to a lot of great things. And, in the past, the Chamber and the Reidsville Downtown Corporation have been really great partners on events and on, different programs and grants and seminars and anything that we could do together to bring to our businesses. But, during this time of COVID, we partnered on a couple of other things that were really neat. And I'm hoping that we can continue to further those things, because that's really where I think we're going to be in the coming months and even years, as things are kind of rebuilding and shifting and trying to figure out where folks are. A lot of COVID, as Jeff said, was just trying to talk to people, to be an ear for them, to give them resources. And that's, what we are here for. But there are so many other great projects going on. And I'm sure you've been able to walk through Main Street already, both during the process and since you've been here. How do you feel about, Reidsville and the things that were already going on as you were walking onto with the different art projects and the different, projects that the city is working on for the district and some of the other things? Like, what do you think the potential is here, and why did you kind of decide to jump on board and be a part of that?
I think I've spent about the last 5 years coming to Reidsville for family reasons and have really watched it change. And I would notice each time I would come through downtown, there's some new art, there's new things and new businesses, and I think that's really exciting. Some of the things that Jeff has told me that's happening on the other side of the tracks is really exciting too. I think having Reidsville a fun place for people to come for an afternoon, a whole day event. I mean, that's what I see happening here. And I'm walking to a great time where things are in a great position. And I know we're gonna soar through this COVID and we're gonna come out on top. I think the biggest thing I feel like people can come out of that is the partnership, supporting each other. And we need to do that in business and definitely in downtown.
Absolutely. And Jeff, what do you think, the next 6 months look like to even 12 months, as far as things that were in place or things that now are in place or things that we're working towards? And, one of the big things that we received this past year that we've never had was the accreditation. And I think that goes to say a lot for all the people who were involved. But we've got this great board, and now we've got a new fresh set of eyes, and all things that we could, set some really lofty goals, I think. What are you thinking that we're going to be looking towards in the next 6 to 12 months?
Well, absolutely. You mentioned the national accreditation. It's the first time that our Main Street program has achieved that since we've been a Main Street program since 1984. We were what I call one of the original 13 colonies of the state Main Street program. We were actually the 13th city to be involved in it. That was an important goal for us to achieve. It's a pride thing. It's something that the state Main Street directors place a very big emphasis on. They really like when their communities are recognized by the National Association to have that. It's kind of a best practice, achieving the greatness that we aspire to. So we definitely want to keep that going. Obviously right now we're not able to have events, so that's unfortunate. So we're kind of looking at 2021. Obviously we don't know right now what that's going to look like with events. So, but we're certainly optimistic that we'll be able to continue the events that we've had in years past and be able to get people back together downtown and do some great things there. But the big focus this year will be on the Depot District. That redevelopment project, we have just contracted with a really great creative design firm called Design Workshop. They're actually headquartered in Colorado. They've got offices in Raleigh, Asheville, and other areas around the country. We interviewed 5 firms out of 13 proposals that we received to do really a kind of a physical asset study, looking at pedestrian connectivity, public areas. So they're going to come up with a really good foundational plan for that area for us. And we've already got momentum with a project that's in the plans for a large-scale multifamily residential and restaurant retail project. So that's that one was a little bit ahead of its time before we were even able to have this plan in place. So that area is going to be a big focus, and I think it's going to be a great complement to our downtown. It's not competing with downtown. It's going to be an eclectic, artsy, fun, entertainment, live, work, play district. And we're really trying to create we call it a district. We call it I like to call it a neighborhood. That's kind of the feel I want to go for, is really a fun neighborhood. And it's something our locals can go and enjoy, but also visitors and, eventually residents. People are going to live over there, and it's going to just be a great, again, pedestrian friendly, and we're going to have connectivity to the downtown pedestrian wise. It's across the tracks, but we're looking at ways to make it safe. It's going to be an exciting project, and that's going to add a whole nother dimension to Jill's plate, as well as other staff, obviously. But so that's a big focus, but that doesn't mean we're leaving behind what we've already had such a big focus on in the core downtown. We still have great things going there. The public art movement is not slowing down. We have the new block mural that is closing in on funding. If we have folks out there listening that want to donate to that project, it's going to pay homage to the African-American businesses back from the 30s through the 80s. That's an important project for our community. It's a lot of pride. So we're so excited about that project. That's going to go up there on Martin Luther King Drive. So big focus there, continuing the art movement. The brewery's almost completed. Just so many good things going on. And I told people, what I've told people recently is, when this pandemic came down, this community came together. You see the signs everywhere, we'll get through this together. It's Team Reidsville. We didn't feel sorry for ourselves. We just pushed through. We have so many good things going on despite the pandemic. We didn't throw ourselves a pity party. We continue to push through, and the only way to get to the end of it is through it. I know that's sort of a cliche, but we didn't feel sorry for ourselves. I mean, we just, we're going to keep going, and, we're going to keep pushing through it.
And what's really interesting, kind of starting to move through the pandemic and look for that end, as you just mentioned. One of the things that was kind of discussed early on was, I know that the mayor and I have discussed it on my show, the ability to adapt and move forward. We don't even have to adapt that much because we are rural, and that's a great thing right now during the pandemic because we haven't been affected as much by the numbers. There hasn't been as much spread. There have been a lot less of our businesses that have closed down. There have been a lot more businesses that have been able to get help, and people want to live in rural areas. So a lot of people, normally we were getting visitor center packet requests, and they've doubled. People are looking to move to somewhere where they can be close to the mountains, close to the beach, but get away from these really densely populated areas. And I was reading an article yesterday that was posted on LinkedIn by a New Yorker who is currently living in Florida, but he owns a theater and a comedy club. And he was just saying that the city is dead, that there's so many people who've left and not come back, and the neighborhoods and, the businesses, those buildings that held thousands and thousands and thousands of people. And he named one in particular, and he said there's only 500 employees in that building now. And, they're going to struggle as a city to come back and the things that they were built on. And we're really fortunate that we haven't lost any footing in those types of projects and the things that we were working on, Lucky City Brewing, the theater, and some of the other, there's some people trying to do event spaces and other things. So while some of those aren't working right now, it's not like people have vacated Reidsville. They still live here, and they're still going to want to come out. And another thing that downtown has going for it is that, it's outside. So once we can start to move a little bit more towards having more people outside, and granted, the weather is not wonderful for that as we're moving into the fall and the winter, but by next spring, I really feel good about how things are going to look for 2021 and being able to come out and do things. And I think that it's a credit to all the work that the folks at the city are doing. And Jill, you couldn't have come at a better time. Truly.
I think
Jill? Oh, go ahead, Jill.
Times like this, people either come together or it falls apart. And I think the small town appeal now is, like you said, is going to even be greater. I think people are really evaluating what's important in their lives, and, you know, that quality of life living in a small city and having to be able to be home and, you know, get food from your local restaurant, have your entertainment there. I think we've all changed the way that we look at life. And that a town like Reidsville can explode in the positive way from all this.
Yeah, that's such a great point that you both have brought up. The silver lining is that folks are going to migrate to smaller towns,
right,
that still have the amenities that they're used to and that they want. You know, you're not really compromising your quality of life to move to a rural city. But, you know, there's a lot of people who just, you know, realize that, you know, something like a pandemic, it's not as safe to, you know, live in a highly densely populated area when you can move to a smaller town and realize that, wow, why didn't I think of this before? You know, I mean, it's you know, it's kind of a catch-22. I mean, you don't want to, in a negative way, take advantage of something like this, but, you know, if people want to come here, we welcome them and we encourage that. I remember when I was in Winston-Salem and Hurricane Katrina, you know, ripped through New Orleans, we had, you know, I had peers from other communities that went down there and were shopping for business at their industries and said, you know, I don't know, it didn't matter what part of the country they were from, but like, you know, we don't have life-threatening hurricanes in our community, so you should move your business there. And our board said, no way, we're not, you know, we're not going to poach businesses on the heels of a devastating storm. That's just not what we're about. So we have to do this in a careful way, but, you know, if people look at a place like Reidsville and say, wow, that's a safe community, it's a tight-knit community, and they still have all these amenities that are here, but, you know, still continuing to offer more, come to Reidsville. It's a great place.
I think as people find more and more too, the ability to work remotely is one of the things that article was discussing. But I will say on the flip side, what's good for us is that people still want to gather. They still want to break bread together, right? They want to have a meal. They want to be entertained, and they don't want to do it from behind a screen. They want that connection and that feeling and that culture. And so I think that we're one of the most fortunate ones because we were already working towards so many of those things, and we are in a rural community, and we're going to be able to build on that as we come out of this. So I just think, you know, we've already mentioned it kind of blows my mind to think about the Depot District and Lucky City and some of these other projects, and then the project with the, you know, the apartments and I mean, it's just so much. It's almost mind blowing to think about all the different things that are happening at one time. And you're right, Jeff, it is going to be more like a neighborhood, and people want to live in places like that and still have a small town feel.
Absolutely.
I think we have some really great neighbors already. You know, we've got Brad and Tammy Spencer and the things that they're doing. I mean, my goodness, he just finished a project at the Football Hall of Fame. I mean, that's just a little bit crazy to think about some of our artists that live here and go and do things in other places. Or you've got people like Ted and Barbara who've traveled the world, and then they've settled here in Reidsville and have a business and have, you know, completely renovated an old firehouse to be an awesome office and just beautiful home. And so, you know, I think that we are really positioned to do some great things moving forward. And I think that it is really exciting. And Jill, you know, you're bringing a lot of experience from not only Main Street, but owning a small business. I think that people are going to be able to relate to that, and it's going to resonate with them, the things that you have to give when it comes to advice, because sometimes it's one of those things, right? Like you're seeking advice, but you don't necessarily heed the advice depending on where it's coming from. And I do think that you are going to be able to click with a lot of folks and be able to advise them in ways that will be helpful to the overall Main Street and their individual businesses.
I mean, I hope that it always helps to have somebody that, has been in your shoes. Like I say, you never know what it's like to be in my shoes. So hopefully the fact that I have been there and through some tough times, ups and downs, and it's great to be a small business owner. I've enjoyed it so much, the two that I've had, and I hope to express that to them and support them and maybe get them to think outside the box like I've had to do at different times, maybe things they haven't thought about. Because one thing as a small business owner, you can't just kind of sit back and wait for the business to come to you. You have to always be thinking and be creative and being innovative, and hopefully I can help with that.
I find it really interesting because I think that, and Jeff can probably attest to this, I feel like our city manager is always 10 steps ahead of everybody else. And I swear I don't think Preston sleeps. Like, it cracks me up. Like, he is so just creative and so motivated, and he has just 1,000,001 ideas. And I think a lot of the things that he came, he came just a few years ago, and now there's all these things that are happening, and we're all so thankful to have these different partnerships and the support. He really gives us the support to do some of those things for our business community and for our Main Street and for just the citizens in Reidsville. So I would love to say that, welcome to Team Reidsville, because it is something that I think is really strong and something that has really just taken off over the last 2 years, that branding and that togetherness that we all feel when we're working on something, and being able to be proud of it. And even in the, COVID, the Rise Up Reidsville, the rally cry, like, it just, the timing of everything that everybody had been working on. We were, if you could be prepared for a pandemic, I think we were more prepared than a lot of people. And I think that it is a great time to be moving forward on some things. So we're really excited. Is there anything in particular that you would want people to know about you or about your plans or your ideas or ways that you would like to communicate with people or things you're thinking about?
Well, I think just generally speaking, I want them to know that I'm approachable. I want to get down and meet everybody and talk to the business owners, and feel free to pick my brain. No idea is a bad idea. I'd love to share the knowledge that I have and learn from them as well, because they know the history. That's the part that I don't know here. A lot of them have been here a long time, but I can maybe bring them some fresh ideas and things they haven't thought about. And I want to have a good relationship with those business owners, and keep growing on what's been done so far. I'd love to see more art downtown, more buildings refurbished, and all those just things come with time. And I think when this is all over, meaning the COVID is all over, people are going to be so gung-ho, they're going to be bursting at the seams to kind of get going on things. So I think maybe not in 2020, this still might be kind of a weird year, but 2021, it's going to be wide open.
I agree. And I think there will be some things that look very different, but I think that coming out of the winter, I think into the spring, things will bust wide open for sure. And I think that we'll be ready and primed to do some things that are different. And, Jeff, I wanted to give you a couple of minutes. Do you want to give any updates? I know things are really, chugging along over there at Lucky City. You want to just kind of mention what's going on and where they are in their timeline?
Sure. And I'll back up a little bit. You both have sort of touched on it, but you mentioned the city manager, and Jill, you kind of talked about how in 2021 we're in a position, and it's all about preparation in this business. It's being prepared for growth, and it doesn't take you by surprise, and it's not it's something you expect and you work towards. And we talk a lot about, when we were talking with developers, we met with one last week, and they were just sort of overwhelmed with the amount of support that we had offered them. And we talked about the chamber, and we talked about just the community as a whole, and the city and city council, and what we could do for them. And they were just, we don't get this in other cities. And we said, well, our philosophy is what other communities would view as very aggressive attitude and policy for economic development, that's just the norm for us. It's not aggressive. It's just what we do. Mm-hmm. And, when you have that type of mentality, you are ready for the 2021s and beyond. We are going to keep, when it opens back up, we are going to be wide open, just as Jill mentioned. But you mentioned the brewery. I'm down there, every so often. And I think their original plan was to be open sometime in October. Don't know. You'd have to ask them if their time frame is still on target for that, but it's not far behind. They were installing the bar the other day. They kind of moved the front entrance in a little bit and put those garage doors up, which is kind of a cool trend in the breweries. So you'll be able to have a lot more outdoor seating along the sidewalk, but also when you first come in, it'll be indoors, but it'll kind of be an outdoor feel, so particularly in good weather, but they'll have heaters so you can still, be outdoors even in some inclement colder weather. They're going to have inside, they're going to have their logo on the brickwork on the inside is kind of a ghost sign. Ruby Blanco is going to do their logo with a little bit of some added elements on the side of the building. So it's going to have a really cool art element. It's exciting. I was really impressed with the execution of what was already a really good construction plan. So it is definitely going to be every bit and more of what people hoped it was going to be. So it's super exciting. And I know everybody's chomping at the bit for it to finally get open, but it's going to be well worth the wait. And there's some other exciting things that are going to happen along that Gilmer Street corridor.
I also think that one of the coolest things that came kind of as a later addendum was the partnership with Carmela's and being able to offer the gourmet burger menu. And I think that's going to just increase the creativity that they have. They're going to be able to just say, hey, come have food and come have games and come hang out and come have a beer. And it blows my mind how this project is really coming together. And I would just like to say for the record, I think they're really ahead. I mean, people think they're behind, and I think when you say something's going to open, it means tomorrow. But it was a 5-year plan, and they're doing really well in their 5 years, I would say.
They're right on target. Actually, they officially wrote the city a check for $1 at the Fall Jubilee in 2016, because I had just gotten here about 6 months before that. So they're 4 years into a 5-year plan, and you're right. Burlington Beer Works, which I know Jill's familiar with living in that area and having worked for Burlington downtown, that was a 10-year project. They had to raise money. It's a co-op as well, so they had to raise money. They had to find property that took a while. They had some other hiccups along the way. We're halfway to where that took them to get open, and it's a great facility. I mean, it's great. So yeah, it took longer than people had hoped, but it didn't take longer than it should have. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I'm very excited about it, and I think that even people who might have had a glimmer of a doubt there for just a minute. I mean, we had some serious hiccups and red tape and things that you and all the city staff that worked on this project worked really hard to get, sorted out for them, and things that we figured out didn't even have to be done that we thought had to be done. But, oh, well, it is what it is, and it's done and it's ready. And I think that's great. So, well, we are out of time. So I just wanted to, again, welcome, Jill. We are really excited to have you. I feel that others will find very quickly that they are able to work with you and speak with you and move forward and get ready for this 2021. It couldn't really be a better time to be coming on board something like this. So we're excited to have you. And if either one of you have anything else you want to say before we wrap it up.
I'd just like to thank Jeff and everyone that I've met so far for the warm welcome. It's testament to how the employees here feel. In fact, I talked to somebody on the phone today that was a 30-year employee who no longer works there, and how positive she was, and she told me how much she loved her job, and that's a testament right there. And I think just the few people that I've met downtown, or a few residents, I know a couple of people that live here, and it's been a very warm, welcoming, small town hoorah welcome, and I really appreciate it. It's a great start for me.
Well, that's the impression we try to leave our visitors and future residents, and I think it resonates pretty well. So you're spot on. So we appreciate the opportunity, Diane, to always get the word out and call either one of us at any time. We're here to help, and that's what we do.
Well, I appreciate y'all being willing to come on the show, and Jill, breaking you in pretty early. So welcome, and trial by fire, and just hang on for the ride, because it's going to be pretty wild, I'm sure, and that's how we do things. So, all right. Well, that is all today for the Reidsville Chamber News and Views. You can find us downtown at 140 South Scale Street. Like us on Facebook and Twitter to keep up with current up-to-date events, and we will see you soon.